Man, I was really excited because I thought like, oh man, Ryan's got intro music to play for us. Nope, nope.
Nope.
I accidentally pressed play on my computer.
Nah, I've done that before. You're like, man, that's cool. Where'd that? Oh, that's me. And like, that's my playlist.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh man, I don't what button. Oh, I guess I just hit play. That's the button I pressed. Okay. So Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today, man.
Sure.
I'm gonna I should have warned you about this, but in a little bit I'm gonna ask you some questions once we've got some people on here.
Okay.
Because I feel like we're gonna have to get them out of the way. Otherwise whatever. So, before we really get too far into it, since we don't really have anyone watching yet, you and I we were kind of talking a little about our kind of our studios, so to speak, and yours obviously looks much nicer than mine. I'm gonna like kind of zoom in on yours a little. Like, if people look like you've got a fantastic background, you got the mood lighting behind that.
Little
Your
dragon
shelf.
statues back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the typical nerd room, so you me, I'm like, oh look, Steve looks like he's in his bedroom and hiding from his children.
Sure.
He is.
So yeah, that was it was funny because we started doing videos right when COVID hit, and we actually did a bunch of Facebook Live videos called The Pivot about how businesses were changing, and I was like, oh crap, I need to make my office look better. So I mean, what you couldn't see was the fact that everything outside of this viewable space was just trashed. I mean, there were boxes stacked up. We were like running around like chickens with our heads cut off here. I had kids at home trying to e-learn for the first time, and it was just a hot mess. So I said, okay, we need to make this better. And I spent some money and upgraded. So I got some, cheap in-ear speakers so we can differentiate the mic, which makes a huge difference on everyone's performance. Microphone here, studio lights like you have. I don't have the cool ones. I've got the knockoffs. Upgraded to a DSLR camera and cleaned up my background. And it was really. It made a huge difference. And what we also did that you can't see is that there's a curtain rod up behind me. I can clamp on a green screen to. Yeah. I don't know if I adjust my camera. So
I as soon as you said green screen, I knew where you were going with that. Like,
yeah,
that's cool,
so
man.
let me see. Yeah, you can't really see it too well, but and I just keep it folded up in the corner. So if I ever need a green screen for something, or my wife wants to come in and use this setup, I can just clamp it up and throw on a green screen, and it looks amazing.
Well, that's really cool. And I would love to put up like a curtain rod or something like that. This is a pretty wide room though. I think this is 18 feet wide. I'm sure my iPhone could tell me,
Yeah.
But and then we've also got vaulted, so the ceiling's doing this.
Oh.
So like I was looking like, oh, I could, maybe I'll just get that like that Elgato green screen, because I like the Elgato stuff. They make some fantastic stuff.
I got 2 cam links. I love them.
Yeah, I mean they make some fantastic stuff. So I'm thinking, oh, I'll just I'll go get an Elgato a green screen. I'll get the MT version. That way I can mount it either to the wall or ceiling. And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
because a wall doesn't do me any good because the wall's way back there. And the ceiling, I mean, the ceiling's so high, I think the green screen would stop around here. Like,
Yeah, we did. So when I first got it, I actually got a support bracket that was as big as the green screen. So it's pretty wide. The only issue was that it was so bulky because of the feet are a tripod. So then you've got everything hanging down, and it was like, it ended up being like right behind me. I was like, that's claustrophobic. So then what I did is I did the ceiling trick, and someone told me that, go buy a curtain rod. Just buy a super long, like a 20-foot curtain rod, or I don't know, up to 12 feet curtain rod, whatever it is up there. And I just screwed it into the ceiling, and I got little clamps and just clamp it on. And for under $50, we were able to do that. But there are other options out there. And if you need a green screen, obviously you got the lights. The lights make the best difference with the green screen. You can definitely do it. And just for those times when you need a green screen.
Well, I agree completely. And for those of you that are just joining us, we are live right now. It's 9:05 on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
Yes.
I'm on COVID time still, man. Like it's so like the kids are starting to get back into school, and I'm still like, the day ends in the letter Y. That's all I know.
Yes. Yes, I definitely hear you there.
So let's talk about the lighting thing, because I think one thing people don't realize is how important lighting is for their like webcam stuff. Even if you're helping clients with work from home stuff, lighting is so important. I mean, you have fantastic lighting. You've got nice even lighting. Mine, you can tell, is a little like washed out, which is fine-ish. I can't even think of the name of the app right now. Control Center. So if I open up my Control Center app.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is what is the screen? The lighting is one thing, but then what is the screen doing in front of you that's being reflected, especially as a fellow glasses wearer?
Yeah. And then maybe I'm like, oh, so it looks very blue on my glasses, so maybe I should change my light color to yellow. But it still looks very blue on my glasses. So the yellow didn't do anything, and now my shirt looks washed out.
Yeah, you definitely went red on us too.
Yeah, so it's it's interesting, all these different things that you can do with lighting. And see, if I turn my lighting down, the one thing that drives me nuts is this Logitech camera. I wish the camera could stop it. Like, just stop screwing with the auto adjustments and all that. Like, just let me manually control it like I could with a DSLR. Yep. I would be so much happy. And I know there's some apps, like I know there's a webcam settings, and there's a couple other apps for Mac users, because the Logitech app sucks. But I the webcam settings app crashes on me half the time, so why would I want to use that? So yeah, I mean that's my frustration, and I've got a nice DSLR. I've got an A6400.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had a different lens. I've got two lenses. One's a 35 millimeter, and it makes it look like I'm this close to you, and it's just really uncomfortable. Like it's awkwardly uncomfortable, right? And then I've got the other lens, which is, I want to say it's a 17 to 125 or 19 to 125.
That one will be close. At 17 will be good.
It is, but the f-stop, it doesn't open up enough. It's not a fast enough lens. So because of that, I don't get a blurry enough background. And I'm like, I'm not going to set up all this crap for something that I tear down and use every weekend. I'm not going to set up all this crap for it to look about the same as my Logitech. Honestly, my Logitech sometimes looks better than my DSLR, just because my background's so lame. Like,
yeah, and a lot of that is the controlled light. I have no lights on behind me, or I've just got my two studio lights on here, but the lights are off behind me. And I've actually got a window right here with a window with a room darkening shade on it, because that was throwing everything off too. It'd be like, oh, it got sunny, and then all of a sudden my face would go real dark, and then it'd come back, and it'd be like,
And so that's what I mean when I say light is so important, and people don't realize how important lighting is when it comes to, doing on-camera stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I know this probably sounds ridiculous and maybe a little vain, but it is my opinion that if you're running an IT company and you're still doing a lot of Zoom meetings or whatever meetings, and whether they are quarterly business reviews or checkups or whatever you want to call those, right? Because I know some people don't like to call them QBRs because maybe they don't do them quarterly or whatever. Or maybe you're meeting with prospects. I think you are doing yourself a disservice if you have shitty video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nicest way I can say it.
Yeah.
I think I don't think that our prospects and our clients expect us to be, movie production companies, but I think they expect us to have something that at least looks as good as what you and I are producing. And again, I don't think I'm producing anything that looks all that great because my background sucks, but because of the lighting, you can at least see my face. Mm-hmm. Everything looks crystal clear, high definition, all that good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important. And, since you and I are Apple nerds, I can do things like this. Hey, Siri, get to work. Hey, Siri, go live. And there we go. So I've literally got a setting on my lights where it puts it at the right temperature and the right brightness to where it looks the way I want it to look. Mm-hmm. And you're probably like, Steve, you look really pale. That's because I don't go outside. I'm allergic to the outdoors.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I've got, because these are Elgato key lights, you would think that that's why I'm able to control them with, that lady in the phone. If I even say the word serious, half the time she thinks I'm talking to her.
Oh yeah.
They're not though. They're not compatible with HomeKit. So I ended up getting a Raspberry Pi, and I installed Homebridge on it. And Homebridge has basically like various plugins that allow you to integrate non-HomeKit devices into HomeKit. So I've got these lights, I've got all my Ring cameras and doorbell, like all of that stuff integrates into HomeKit now. Even my garage door opener, which doesn't normally integrate. So I can control it all. And HomeKit, like, it sees it all as if it were, stuff that just worked.
That's awesome. I got to check that out. I've not played with Homebridge much.
It is cool, man. It like, HomeKit really doesn't care as long as the device has, the bridge has the appropriate plugins, drivers, settings, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the guy that made the Ring integration with Homebridge, he basically said, I'll never set it up to do the secure video because that'll make it so you guys want to stop paying Ring. Duh, why don't you make it? Well, then Ring will change their settings and then it'll break it. And if I just make it so that way you still want to pay Ring, then they won't screw with their APIs too much.
Okay.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable. I can't complain about that. So, if you just remember that if you want to see the history on your doorbell, you still got to go into the Ring app. But otherwise, you can go into HomeKit and you can see what's happening live, and it's awesome, man.
That is very cool. Very nice.
So let's talk about something that the people actually care about. Let's talk about some Apple device management.
Yes.
So let's get some background out of the way. Your name again is Ryan Grimes. Mm-hmm. You own the company My IT Indie, correct?
Yes.
And tell us about My IT Indie and what you do there.
We started in 2004. We were an Apple-only IT services provider, which was an interesting thing to get into in 2004.
That was a terrible idea.
I know, right? Who thought that was a good idea? Well, we're still here.
There were like 12 Macs in all of Indiana back then.
Pretty much. Well, we were doing a lot of residential stuff at that time because Apple was starting to try to integrate things together, and we all know how that goes, and nothing worked. And there was people had big house syndrome, we called it, where they had 10,000 square feet, and nobody did a good mesh system back then. So we were really trying to cobble together airports and make sure photo libraries synced because there was no such thing as iCloud and all that stuff. So that's how we got our start in this. And then saw kind of the writing on the wall where things were getting easier to do for home users that we needed to shift to business users. Which was, again, a very hard thing to do because businesses really didn't use Apple products, or it was like the design department of a larger company were Mac users and they needed some assistance on it. So we kind of blazed the trail there. We were one of 3 members in the Apple Consultants Network in Indiana, and I think there's maybe 4 now. So we were really the first Apple MSP in Indiana.
And honestly, that was before MSP even existed.
Pretty much. It was weird because we kind of defined it. Then we're like, oh, hey, Carl Palachuk's talking about what we do already. That's kind of cool. Like, okay, we're kind of doing the right thing when all the experts are telling us we need to do this stuff. So we were moving that way anyways. And then we're finally like, look, we need to get everyone on an agreement. And we did the math. And we came up with a price based on kind of what they were spending. And what was interesting was that it was all consistent across every business. Like they were actually paying relatively within about 10% the same amount per user per month. That once you factored everything in, I'm like, okay, we'll start there and we'll price it there and we'll go. And everyone came on board. And that's how we started this.
And I'm dying to know, what was that price?
Oh, God. I want to say it was... I'm ashamed to even say because it was so long ago, but it was like $60 a user or something like that with the machine included. Obviously, that's not what we charge now, but that's what it was.
With the machine included, you don't mean hardware as a service. You mean you were covering the user, their issues, and any issues the machine had, right?
Yes. And that included everything like the network, the server. I mean, that's really what we priced it at. And that made sense back then because things are so much simpler. You didn't have 17 layers of a security stack protecting their network and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 10, 15 years ago. I mean, when Carl released his stuff, was Mac... I don't remember. What year-ish do you think you did this switch?
Oh, it's probably been at least 7-8 years now since we've done the switch. So
okay, so I guess where I was going was I think it was maybe, what was it, 06 to 08 when they switched to Intel.
Yeah, it's been because that's about when we start. That's a good question. I need to look that up. Those random okay. Apple facts are not leaving me.
It's not really important, but I guess where I was going is you were probably already supporting Apple devices for residences and businesses, maybe, by the time they switched over to Intel.
We were, yes. In fact, it was January 2006. I looked it up real fast. Okay. So I remember doing a migration for a couple of computers to Intel Macs. And of course, they got like the low-end Mac minis with the Core Solo processors in them. And 4,800 or 4,200 RPM platter hard drives. So yeah, everyone in the room just went, ooh, yeah, that was bad. They were so
I feel like I just got kicked in the nuts.
Yes, that's it. Pretty much was like, oh, we're going to update the operating system. That'll be 2 hours.
Yeah, that's ugh. Yeah, and what's crazy is like, I still just out of reflex when a client says, hey, Steve, and it's a small client, so we don't have like images for them or anything. We literally install Windows and then like everything they do is in the cloud. So I install Windows, set up a printer, and install Office 365, and it's done. So I've got a client. They're like, yeah, how long is it going to take you to do all this? And I just by default say like, I should have it done in a few hours. Like he dropped the computer off here and he didn't even make it back to his office, which is 45 to 50 minutes away. I'm like, yeah, so this will be done in about 10, 15 minutes. Like...
Yeah,
it's just insane. Like reflex, just to think like, oh yeah, an OS load that takes like 2-3 hours, but it doesn't anymore. It takes like 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty
because
fast
solid
to
state
download
and the OS is so lean now. Like both Microsoft and Apple have done a great job of making it much easier for us to do our thing,
Mm-hmm.
but still just difficult enough that they need us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've been in this industry long enough that you take something that used to take you 2 hours and now is a checkbox. Is it any less valuable? Just because it takes you less time, does it mean you've accomplished less? And a lot of people in the industry are like, well, I'm not going to charge them, a flat fee for an OS upgrade. I'm like, why not? You're still upgrading the operating system. You're still accomplishing the same task. Just because it's a checkbox and you monitoring an RMM platform doesn't mean that you should charge any less. I mean, you back in the day, you had to send a guy out there with a Windows 98 floppy disks. It's obviously a different world now. But, attach the value to the task you've accomplished, not to how much time it takes you.
Absolutely. And not just that, but think about that old adage, why are you charging me $100 for this thing? I mean, it only took you 5 seconds. Well, I charged you $1 for the work and $99 for knowing what button to check.
Yeah. Yep.
We've all heard that, right?
Yep.
So that's why when it comes to like equipment sales. Now, with Apple products, are you even authorized to resell Apple products?
No, and we never have been. I've never pursued that.
Okay.
We can now through the Apple Consultants Network. I can set up a customer with a custom store that they can order things through, and I can, theoretically earn a couple percentage on that. But then Apple pushes a lease, and I can't make a percentage off a lease. So I'm like, why am I doing this?
So you don't make anything off the lease?
Not if they go through Apple.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it's, Apple, I will say this about Apple, and I've worked with them for many years. I've been an Apple guy since the 80s. Apple's kind of like your uncle that had a little bit of a drinking problem. Sometimes he'd come over and be like, hey, here's $1,000 in cash. I love you. You're the greatest. And sometimes he'd give you the back of his hand. You just never knew what was, and they've grown so much and they've done so many things and they've done so many great things that part of them still remembers getting, kicked when they were down back in the 80s and 90s by Microsoft and Intel and Dell and all those guys. And they're a little punch drunk. And then the other side of them is they got like billions of dollars in cash. They just don't have to care anymore.
That's true. So speaking of the billions of dollars in cash, what's his name? Rossman? Is it Louis Rossman on YouTube?
Sounds familiar. Yes.
He's got that New York computer repair shop.
Oh yeah.
He's constantly going on YouTube with videos bashing Apple and their repair stuff. So a lot of times, according to him, a lot of times you bring in your MacBook and it's out of warranty, so they don't care. So you bring in your MacBook, it's out of warranty, something's not working right. Maybe it's just the hard drive, and it's an old enough Mac where the hard drive could have actually been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And they open up the computer and do whatever they do, and they don't know how to route the cables properly when they're done just poking and prodding and doing diagnostics to tell you, yeah, it's a bad hard drive. So now the computer doesn't even like turn on because they've bent a couple of the pins or one of the pins that transmit power to the backlight on the display. Like, I don't know how. I fall asleep like watching podcasts and stuff on YouTube, and I woke up and somehow it went down some dark rabbit trail. And I woke up and it's been on like Louis Rossman for an hour and a half, just showing me why Apple does a terrible job with repairs. And like every one of these, it was like, oh, it'll be at least $1,100 to repair because they got to replace the logic board and the top case and then this one they had to replace some other things. And it was literally like they bent a couple of pins because they tried to force the plug into the connector or whatever on the motherboard. I never know the right terms for these things because I never cared to look. But they tried to force it in, and when they forced it, they put it in at an angle, which bent a couple pins, which meant they never plugged in, and now something else is broken. and it's the Apple consultant or Apple tech's fault from the Genius Bar. And have you ever experienced that? Is that just this Rossman guy looking for the worst of the worst?
We've dealt with Apple stuff for a long time, and human beings work at Apple. And human beings make mistakes. I don't know what volume of repairs he's seeing. We typically don't deal with them. We facilitate repairs either to Apple or to a third-party service provider we use and trust in here in Indianapolis, and have had no major issues with that stuff. Now, we don't do, one of the things we do for our clients is hardware refresh cycles. So we make sure that they're using, more modern computers. So if you're talking about someone with a hard drive that bent cables or something like that, that's typically an older computer. And we don't deal with those a lot.
Because it's not soldered to the board anymore.
Right.
Everything is soldered to the board now.
Everything is on the motherboard now. So if you actually take apart even like the 16-inch laptop, which is huge, I can't see it on my screen, but like 60% of that internal is battery. It's so small these days. It literally the entire computer is like a Pop-Tart. That's really the sum of all the parts. And when you get that small, you have to have things soldered on. And I'm not defending Apple in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply stating that this is the world we live in now. We need to adjust. And who's going to adjust, Apple or us? Apple will make mistakes. I've always had them make good on their mistakes. Like I had an issue on my brand new M1 MacBook Air. This is a great story. So I ordered one the day they came out, 16 gig, the 8 core, 1 terabyte drive. I'm like, you know what? I want to test this out. I need to figure out what this thing does. And I've wanted a smaller computer. I was using a 16-inch MacBook Pro, 32 gig of RAM, 8 core i9, just like a beast of a machine. But it was heavy. And if you're carrying a machine around, that thing was a tank. Not as bad as the old 17-inch MacBook Pro, but it was still a good-sized machine. So I ordered this thing up, and I get it. I'm using it as a laptop. It is smoking fast. Like I'm doing benchmarks compared to my fully loaded, less than a year old $4,000 computer, and it just smokes it. Mm-hmm. It's so much faster for a lot of the stuff I'm doing if you're using native applications or the universal binary applications, which are the ones that are written for ARM64. I'm like, this thing is a monster. And then I plug it into my Thunderbolt 3 dock connected to my monitor and all my great stuff here. And every time I wake it up, it kernel panics and reboots. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So think about, working from home, you come into your office, wake up your computer, it reboots. How many times a day do you do stuff like that? And I was like, this is insane. My computer's rebooting like 10 to 15 times a day when I wake it up from just the monitor being asleep. Like the computer is not going to sleep. So I call Apple because being in the Apple Consultants Network, we get an upgraded support experience. And I call them and they're like, yeah, we're just going to swap it. Like, we don't even have parts. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, we're just trying to keep our heads above water. So they swapped my computer. And of course, being in a pandemic, COVID, brand new product, China's not shipping anything world, it took 5 weeks to get my replacement computer. So in the meantime, I'm like trying every single fix in the world for this issue, and it's not getting taken care of. But I did figure out a workaround here. I'll tell you what it is in a little bit. But I mean, I've been dealing with this since November, and it's now into January. I get my brand new computer, get it set up, plug it all in, and it does the exact same thing. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, how is this a thing? And I'm digging through support, and I'm finding more and more people are having issues with M1 computers connected to external monitors. I'm like, okay, there's a thing here. There's a problem that exists in this universe that we need to figure out where it is, because I have clients that have this setup, and I cannot recommend this product if their computer is going to reboot 10 times a day. So we're digging. And finally I figured out a workaround. And it's so I have a call digit Thunderbolt 3 dock, which is not the problem. I've used this dock on 3 other Macs, works perfectly fine. The M1 Mac has
the exact same dock.
Yep. The M1 has a problem with it. So my solution to this problem is that I take a USB-C to DisplayPort cable right to the monitor. I don't run the monitor through the Thunderbolt 3 dock, and that fixes the issue. Now, obviously, I've got 2 things going on now. I've got my Thunderbolt 3 dock plugged in with all my accessories on it, and then the USB-C to DisplayPort cable going right to the monitor.
So let me tell you, I'm gonna shuffle some things around here.
Yep.
I did a thing a week and a half ago, and I had to take my MacBook into the Apple Store and do some repairing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, it'll take, a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. What? So what can you guys do for me while I'm without a computer? Because I use this for work. Nothing. I'm like, are you guys shitting me? Like,
remember that thing I said about Apple not understanding business?
Yeah, well, here's the crazy part. Did you know that Apple has an Apple Care Plus for enterprise or whatever, and that they have on-site support stuff?
They do. They just don't advertise it.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. Otherwise, I might have considered it. Are you able to tell me anything about it? How much does this stuff cost?
It's expensive. It's really expensive. For the Apple Care for enterprise is like $15,000 a year. It's a lot of money.
So you're paying for a fleet of Macs. You're not able to just say, here's $550. Give me on-site support for my one single Mac.
So traditionally, Apple has provided hardware support to machines that are not portable. So if it's a Mac Mini or a laptop, they will request that you bring it into the store unless you have extenuating circumstances. That's from back when I dealt with this on a much more personal level. We don't do a ton of hardware anymore, so this is what I'm remembering. Now, if you had like an iMac or a Mac Pro or anything like that, they would come to you to fix it and swap parts out. But that was you kind of had to ask for that, and they didn't offer it because obviously they have to employ an outside resource and make sure that they're covered and all that stuff.
So even when you pay for the one that includes the on-site, they really don't want to do the on-site. Is that what I just heard?
It depends on what model you have. Now, I haven't gone through the legalese of all the Apple Care documentation recently. I should probably do that. But I need you
to be an expert on Apple Care.
Yes, please, no, because it changes every day and it's terrible. So what they have done is they've facilitated repairs, and you can. So what computer was it you were looking to get fixed?
So let's put a pin in this for now.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Keep going. It's a MacBook.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Okay, it's a MacBook. So what they can do is they can actually overnight you a box, and you can drop it. You can put your computer in the box, and you can send it to them. And I've had great luck doing that, and we've had computers back within 48 hours.
Yeah, so they did get it back to me relatively quickly. I dropped it off on a Monday. I had it back on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I was at the store. Thankfully, the Apple Store is 30 minutes from me. So
sure.
I'm not bitching that I had to go to the Apple Store. I'm bitching that they took my computer and shipped it out.
Yeah.
I would have even been okay with oh yeah, what do they do with iPhones and iPads? They just go to the drawer at the back of the building and they pull out another iPhone or iPad. Here you go, Steve. I don't need the same serial number. Just give me another Mac.
Yeah. So here's an interesting story about that. I worked at Apple for a while. I was a genius at Apple about 17 years ago. And we were the first store to be laptop certified. And that's when their laptops were a gigantic disaster to repair. I mean, they were so bad. The PowerBook 12-inch, an optical drive was a 2-hour repair. It was so bad, and we kept getting them in. I was like, our rule, it was funny because if you talk to any of the guys I worked with, the rule was if you checked in a 12-inch PowerBook, you had to take it apart because you couldn't put it on somebody else because it was a terrible repair. So we were in that.
So that's when I would I'm sorry. 1 second. Hey Jim, I need you to take care of this customer. My stomach I gotta go.
I gotta go to the bathroom. Right.
And now Jim's the sucker checking that computer in, right?
Well, that was also when we only had so we were in a 30-foot wide store, and we had 26 employees total, 4 of which were geniuses. And being a retail shop, you had
one of you on staff.
One in the back room at any given point. maybe
Wow.
2 if it was in the middle of the day. So that was an interesting scenario to work with. So anyways, we get these, we were working on these computers, and one of the things about laptops that we always had an issue with was nobody ever knew if they had backups or not. So like, do you want us to back up your stuff? It'll be like $50. They're like, yeah, no, I've got backups. It's fine. Well, what Apple did was they had a recall on the iBook G4 that required a logic board swap. And it also required a newer version of the operating system than what shipped. Like, it was a major upgrade of the operating system. It was going from like 10.2 to 10.3. Well,
So the backups wouldn't work.
well, not just that, but they wiped the drives because it wouldn't boot the machine. Because if you brought it in with 10.2 on it and they put this new logic board in, it wouldn't boot the machine. So they wiped the hard drives, and which you technically did authorize because you checked that box that said I had backups and everything was good. That was like a month of disaster when all those, we had like 20 or 30 computers out at that time at Apple getting fixed. Cause that was our overflow, was sending them into Apple. And we were just like, they're going to all be wiped when they come back. We're going to have some severely angry people because you and I know, hey, do you have backups? Oh yeah. I got backups. Yeah. You don't have backups.
Well, I actually have backups. And I said, actually, you know what? Tell them they should just wipe it. You know, send me a fresh install of Big Sur, because this is running the Catalina to Big Sur upgrade, and I've installed a bunch of crap that I don't need anymore, and I'm sure something's broke software-wise. It's just wipe. They sent it back. The thing has all my stuff on it still. Like you guys, come on.
Yeah. It's a complicated system. There's a lot of people involved, and not everything goes smoothly at all times. Typically, they do whatever they can to make it right.
Sure. So
but yeah.
So here's my situation. I had what some people like to call a spicy pillow. I had a bulging battery. It was great because my laptop would just like wobble on a table.
Oh, nice.
So I was typing, and it was like, you know, when you're in a restaurant and the table's just a little off balance, and then you're like talking with somebody, and it just keeps wobbling the whole time. Well, that's what my laptop would do as I was typing on it. So they basically, and I also had, you know, some keys were starting to not work right, and you know, just the typical, because it's a 2018 i7. I didn't bother with the i9 because all the reports basically said the i9, it gets so hot you can't actually get anything out of it anyway. So why bother?
That is a true statement. Yep.
So I went with the i7. I got the 32 gigs of RAM, and I got the terabyte solid state. And it was, like I said, it was a 2018 model. So it had the stupid, what were they, butterfly keys or
The first,
what's the keys everyone hates?
Yeah, the butterfly keys. Yeah.
Yeah, it had the keyboard that everyone hates. That's all I remember. So they replaced basically the keyboard, the mouse, the battery, and then like the shell. I thought I was getting like a new motherboard, and like I thought they were just gonna swap out the whole bottom piece. And apparently they call motherboards logic boards, whatever. So they didn't though. They kept the parts that weren't broken. They swapped out some things. I mean, it went relatively quickly. I was impressed. They told me 2 weeks. I got it in 3 days. But because I was nervous and I didn't want to run a business on an iPad Pro, which I'm close, but man, it sucks. Like trying to, because if I could just hook up a keyboard, a monitor to the iPad Pro and have it be the full monitor and not some weird scaled thing, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Yep.
So I said, all right, well, since you guys won't like do anything for me, can I buy a Mac and then just return it when my other one's fixed? And they're like, yeah, so here's the thing. I can't tell you that you can't do that, but we'd really appreciate if you didn't. I'm like, all right, well then I'll buy the cheapest Mac I can get. That way, maybe I like it. So I got myself this M1, and it's the 8-core GPU, 8 gig, 512 gig solid state.
Nice.
So, I mean, it was a solid little computer, and there was one thing that didn't work for me. I don't I don't know if I had. I think I had the reboot thing happen to me a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really think about that, to be honest. Here's the thing that really sucked for me though. Google Drive. I'm a G Suite guy. I'm not an Office 365 guy. I'm not a Dropbox guy.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
know where
an
this was
iCloud
going.
guy. So because Google Drive is they do everything with these old school what Kext type kernel things. They haven't updated their stuff, so it's just not supported on Big Sur or on the M1. I'm not
It's
entirely
the
sure
M1
which.
specifically. Yes, I know all about this issue.
All right, so tell me, are there any online storage solutions that work well with Big Sur right now?
Anything that doesn't utilize. So basically, what the issue
Don't
is.
tell me anything that doesn't utilize that because I understand that part. Tell me name. I want names.
Oh, okay.
Ryan.
Dropbox.
Okay.
Dropbox works perfectly. OneDrive with SharePoint works perfectly fine.
Okay.
We've had good experiences with those. Box and Google Drive file sync are the two big ones that are not working.
Okay.
They utilize the same underpinning technology that they knew about for 8 months that would not work, and they didn't get an update out the door that would work. So basically, it's any cloud file sharing system that mounts a drive on the desktop, like Box and Google Drive do, does not work.
And I gotta say, and I'm told that if you install the latest update of Big Sur, you can at least get Google Drive backup and sync working. It's the Google Drive file stream I want working because I don't want it syncing things to my computer.
Yeah.
I loved that it would just, temporarily download things and then upload them back and then get rid of them off my drive. And then I could tell it like, no, I want you to keep these couple of folders local at all times.
Yep.
So Dropbox doesn't do the mounting as a drive thing. But do they offer the we won't keep everything on your computer thing?
I don't know how it works compared to Google Drive. We're not Google users, so I don't know the capabilities of that. But I've got a personal Dropbox account, and we use just to share small things around the house, and it seems to not clutter things up too badly. I just don't know how it compares to Google Drive file sync. I know that Box did the same thing that you're talking about with the moving of things off your local computer, and it was great. We've got a fairly large client with about 35 users that can't buy an M1 computer because they live and die with Box. So, Box sync works, but that's not.
But you don't want to sync all those files.
No, we can't. Like mathematically, it's impossible. They've got over a terabyte of data. Yeah, because they've got it's a law firm, so they've got all their case files in there and discovery documents and all that. So they keep all that in Box, and there's a lot of data in there. We just can't store it locally. And Box Drive has traditionally been a great solution for them, but we can't buy new computers.
All right, so you open Pandora's box, and here's now where I have to ask the tough questions.
Okay.
With this law firm, do they have any regulatory compliance stuff that they have to adhere to?
They have guidelines, but they don't have. They have the traditional cybersecurity, E&O liability stuff that they have to adhere to for their insurance companies, but nothing on a state level. There's no requirements for law firms in the state of Indiana that I know of. And the owner of the law firm is pretty tech savvy. He's been on top of that too. Now, having said that, if you are negligent, that's a whole other story. Like if you're like, I don't have any backups, I don't have, I use, my Gmail account, all this other stuff. Yeah.
But they're not doing like, they're not doing like healthcare cases or financial cases or anything where they might have to suddenly adhere to HIPAA or SOX or FINRA or whatever.
So they are complying to HIPAA just because it was we're like, okay, we're almost there anyways. Let's just finish this out and make sure that you're complying with everything. But nothing specific. They haven't had requirements. Now they have had clients, inquire, and we've provided a document to them that they can give to their clients stating, yes, these are the steps we take, and these are the services we use to secure your data. So you can be, assured that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that, nothing bad happens. But at the end of the day, it's, somebody could click on a link and anything could go sideways at any given point, right? I mean, that's the kind of the world we live in. We just try to make it a little bit harder.
You've done things to at least button up all of the major points of entry. Yep. So with them being HIPAA compliant, they don't actually have to be HIPAA compliant. They just kind of are.
Yes. Yeah, they just kind of are. That's a good description. They just kind of are. Yes. Okay. We aim for that, and nothing they do approaches the need for that. So we can just say that we are aiming for that level of compliance. And if you aim for that, it's kind of like aiming for the gold medal. People looking for the bronze are going to be like, okay, you've aimed for the gold. That's good.
All right. So do you have any clients that are medical HIPAA compliant type stuff?
No, we don't. We don't really play in that space just because it's not traditionally been a huge Apple platform, but we do Windows as well. So it doesn't really matter, but traditionally we don't do a lot with medical.
Okay. So are you familiar with a BAA?
Yes.
Okay. But since you're not dealing with any medical, it sounds like you probably don't have any BAAs with clients.
Nope, we do not. We do not deal with medical. In fact, we've walked away from medical where we're like, I would never authorize anything that you're doing, and I'm leaving. Just because it was such a disaster, and they were just like, we're never going to change this. Like and to be fair, like they couldn't afford it. They had to, it was a medical facility, and they had to spend a lot of money. And just to get up to date, I mean, they were like doing things that were horribly out of practice and not compliant in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, look, you have to make these changes. Like, we're not going to. I'm like, okay, then like I'm out. Like, please don't call me ever again.
Man. Well, good for you for, knowing that not every client or prospect can be saved. Mm-hmm. And good for you for knowing your limitations as well. Because it sounds like you are also probably avoiding it because, not to put you down or anything, but you're probably not an expert in it since you're not doing it.
Right.
Like you said, you're striving for it, but because you don't actually have to maintain compliance, you probably could be missing something.
Right.
And you have no idea because you just don't look it up. So good for you for avoiding those types of clients that actually need it and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses there. So let's talk about actual Apple management. Okay. So you probably, like every other MSP that's doing Apple management, you're just using Adigy, right? So what makes you so great?
Well, we started off using Adigy because it was the only MSP focused tool out there that checked a lot of boxes. Ooh, I'm full screen now. Let me adjust my. That's cool. So we were pretty much our goals aligned with Adigy. Obviously, as an MSP, we love things that invoice monthly. We love things that are scalable for growth and shrinkage if we end up not needing as many seats. So Adigy was perfect for that. What we started off with Adigy and started enrolling computers, and Adigy at the time was very small. They had a limited development staff, and our needs did not necessarily line up with their roadmap at all times because honestly, they probably were catering to bigger clients that had bigger needs. So, at the end of the day, we did end up making the decision to move to Jamf Pro at the end of last year. Actually, it was October, November timeframe. And the reason we did that was because finally Jamf realized that they needed to get into this space and adjust their pricing and their billing, because it's expensive. It was the 800-pound gorilla in Mac management if you weren't an MSP. And they needed to, they wanted to get into the space because ultimately they understood that they were not servicing our industry, but they also were trying to play by Apple's guidelines, which Apple's guidelines, again, Apple doesn't understand business really all that well, and they don't understand management of Macs specifically. That's a whole other show we could get into. In fact, I have got into it on a couple other Apple management Facebook Lives and podcasts, because you have to be able to do certain things as an MSP. Like at the end of the day, if there's like, oh, crud, there's this security update we need to push out right now with Apple's MDM spec, which is what they recommend to manage Macs, I can't do it. So we needed a way to do that. And that's where Adigy really came in. And they were the first RMM utility that understood Macs, and the owners having come from Kaseya understood this as well. And they did a great job of getting that platform launched. Now, I did not agree with their roadmap. And we had a couple of technical issues. There was once about 3 years ago where there was an update pushed in the middle of a workday that was not properly vetted. And we had a client with 25 or 30 of their laptops spontaneously started rebooting, which is super awesome because they were all executives. And what happened was we ended up having to, I don't remember exactly what the fix was, but we had to put in a lot of work to get them to stop doing this thing. And it was really frustrating because it wasn't anything we did. Like, it was something that our vendor did, and during the middle of the workday, and had a glitch and caused a problem. And I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. You've cost me like a day and a half worth of work. I need to find a better way to do this. So we muddled around. We went to Mosul, which is an MDM provider, very good on the MDM side. But again, it was lacking the tools we needed to do our job as an MSP. So we incorporated Munki, M-U-N-K-I, into that workflow. But that was a lot of technical knowledge, and the documentation was not where we needed it to be, because we didn't have a dedicated person to just figuring this out, which is what a lot of these solutions needed to, if you do it yourself. So we monkeyed around with that for a couple of months and said, you know what, I as the business owner am spending too much time dealing with this technology, and it's not doing what I want it to do. I need something better. And then a good friend of mine, Mike Castaldi of Wild Frog, said, Jamf has an MSP program now. You should check it out. So he did an e-intro to me. And it was a life-changing thing. Like, I was like, okay, sign me up. I'm done. Or no, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. He said he went to Jamf, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Jamf too. Like, I just can't deal with this. So I paid a full year of Jamf Pro for the machines we needed because they only build annually. And then we moved everyone over to it. And it was a life-changing event on our side because things were so much easier. Updates would work. Things were branded properly. Like, we had a great self-service application in the dock of everyone's computers. They could file tickets. And, the integration with our PSA is not there yet, but that's a whole other thing to worry about. But I could officially manage all my Macs and my iOS devices in a platform that gave me the most power and was the easiest to use, because the documentation was amazing and I could follow everything, and people wrote people did videos on how to do stuff. And whenever you look at Mac management documentation, chances are it's written for Jamf Pro. And it was super easy to just follow the instructions, and these things would do what you needed them to do. The added bonus was that they came to me like a month later and said, hey, we got this MSP program. You should totally sign up. It's actually cheaper per month, and we bill you per month. I'm like, can I get signed up like tomorrow? So that's awesome. Yeah, they came to us, and now I'm saving a ton of money because obviously everything that I put on a computer costs me money, right? So I'm trying to keep that low, but they have also adjusted it for monthly invoicing, which helps out MSPs getting started. And The only downside to it, and I don't know if there's going to be a fix to this because it's actually an Apple issue, is they're not multi-tenant friendly. I mean, it'll work kind of, sort of, but not as amazing as you want it to work. And there's no PSA integration that I know of to Autotask PSA. If I'm missing something, please somebody let me know. But there's a couple of things that aren't perfect with it, but ultimately it's made my life a million times easier. Our texts are like, oh, I need to do this. Let me look it up. Oh, look, here's someone wrote up how to do it. Okay, great. I'll just import it and I'm done.
So with Jamf, you said that it doesn't really support multi-tenant. So do you have just one MSP thing you log into and you can manage all of your clients?
So we have shoehorned it into, back when we started, before they had the MSP program, I was like, okay, I'm not buying like 10 Jamf servers. There's just no way, like the finances didn't work. So I'm like, I'll buy one and then put everybody on it. So it works. It's just not, you have to be kind of careful because it's not fully like a supported configuration. But you can tie in multiple Apple Business Manager accounts to it. You can tie in multiple VPP for app purchasing. You can tie those in and direct them to the correct client. It's just not, it's not as nice as Adigy's interface was for a lot of this stuff. And I'll be honest, Adigy did a really good job of the multi-tenant side of this. It's just, that's not what Apple wants you to do. So these vendors are kind of like, okay, do I listen to Apple or do I listen to my clients? You know, who do I listen to on this stuff? And it's kind of, I'm rather the person I'd rather ask for forgiveness than for permission. So we will make our stuff do the best we can with the things that we're, you know, the tools that we have. So I'm going to try to make this work as easy, because what happens is if you don't have so let's take another step back. Multi-tenant aware means like I can have more than one client in there, kind of like, you know, Datto RMM or ConnectWise, these things work. You have your account and then all your clients are in there with you. So we have what the issue is that with Jamf is that you have to, it's not truly multi-tenant aware. So technically you would have to set up a Jamf server for each client. Now it doesn't increase your cost or anything, but if you're doing like security profiles or any of these things, you either have to program it via the API or you have to manually put them in as profiles and app installs and branding and all that stuff. You have to do it for each one. And that becomes something that can become unwieldy unless you're willing to use the API. But again, we're three people, like diving into an API and configuring it is not something we have a whole lot of time to do. So we don't.
So, you know, you said you use Autotask.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you work with Windows too. So are you using Datto RMM?
We are. Yeah. And I think it's a very solid product. I know that a lot of people in our industry are going towards, and vendors are going towards just the per technician and free endpoints. And I've been on Datto for 4 or 5 years now. And like, I have no intention of leaving. Like, it works. It does everything we need it to do. I've not had any issues. We can do everything we need to do as a business. So I'm not looking to remove that as an expense and kind of go the all-in-one route yet, but it works. I'm happy with it on the Windows side.
You said that the vendors are starting to go that route. There's only 2 vendors I'm aware of. And there's Atera and Synchro.
Okay.
Atera, everyone I've spoken with from Atera has not been from around here. In fact, the last time I spoke with them, it was 2 ladies in Israel. Now, that's fine, but I think that some MSPs might have concerns, especially now, about like, where's my data hosted and who else has access to it and that type of stuff. Like, so I have nothing against, where they're from or whatever, right? But I know that there are many people that are going to be worried about the integrity and the I can't think of the right word. The sovereignty, I think, might be the right word for our data. Synchro, they are based out of the U.S. and I'm making it vague because everyone works from home. Synchro has been a home-based company since they started. So, when the pandemic happened, they just woke up and like, oh, okay, it's Thursday, like whatever,
Yeah.
because they already worked from home. So, and I keep forgetting that, but then like, Crystal Hankel from Cinco, she and I have been doing a lot of these podcast recordings lately, and like every time I connect with her, she just does like a little bit more in her home office, and most recently, like she completely revamped the whole thing. Like she painted the walls the synchro color. Like she went all out, man. Like,
wow, that's all in on that, yeah.
Oh yeah, like she had some like custom stuff made. Like so that tells me a few things. Like one, they take care of their people, because I know if they didn't take care of me, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money I barely have to outfit a room for it. Two, she loves that place, man, and that says a lot when she might be one of the I'll call it like founding employees, but at the end of the day, I think she still might just be an employee, right? But she's been there since the beginning, and that says a lot to me about her dedication within that company. So I would say that between the two of them, it's probably a much easier sell to go with something that we know is American. We know that all of their developers are employees, and all of their employees are here that I recall. I don't remember, but I think they're all around here. They might have some that are overseas, but that might be honestly just because it helps them cover a wider clock, and it honestly probably helps them save money because reasons, right? I would do it too. Like, but I don't think like ConnectWise, Datto, Kaseya, is managed workplace still a thing? Like all of these other tools, none of them are like that I'm aware of switching to the pay for the user and get all the agents free. I think it's just these couple of new ones.
Sure. And that makes
they're-
sense. I mean, a lot of these companies are still like, who is it? Kaseya loves the 3-year agreements. Like, I am not signing a 3-year agreement if I can find any other way around it. Like, because in 3 years, everything's going to be different. And if your product ends up sucking 2.5 years down the road, like I'm still stuck with it. So,
well, and to take what you're doing right now with Jamf and Apple devices, I really think that MDM is where we really need to be looking for Windows devices. Unless Datto really starts to up their game, and all of the MSP tools these days, to be completely honest, unless any of them really start to up their game, I think they're going to lose to whatever Microsoft renamed Intune.
Lighthouse, wasn't it, or something like that? I think that they've got the writing's on the wall with this stuff, right? I mean, Apple bought Fleetsmith; they're an MDM provider, so the writing is on the wall for this stuff, and that's why it's important for us to not be a commodity. We need to, as an industry, if we wish to survive, it's like the computer repair shops. Obviously with the Mac, with Apple and Microsoft, these providers going to all-in-one computers that have everything soldered on, like that's not a thing anymore. Computer repair is dead unless you go to the vendor. So we need to make sure that our expertise is, and honestly, what makes us the most money, because I enjoy making money as much as any other business owner, what those things are is not something that can be commoditized. It's expertise, it's knowledge, it's the relationship with the client. It's a lot of these services that we provide that aren't a commodity. We don't sell RMM. Why? Because it's silly. Like that's a commodity. What we sell is the business consulting and security that's based on these commodities that can change, because let's be honest, like some of these vendors get bought out, or some of them turn poorly, or they make bad decisions, or they make a bad product, or something comes out. So we can interchange them as needed in order to make sure our clients are safe and secure. And there was a time when all we installed was a Meraki firewall, because that's what was the best thing to do at that time. Well, we've got an issue where we can get gigabit internet for really cheap here in Indianapolis, and nothing Meraki sells for under 10 grand can handle that. So now we need a different solution. So
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I'm not a Meraki guy. I like the Ubiquity stuff, and I don't know. Do you do anything with Ubiquity?
we do a fair amount with Ubiquity now. It's been kind of our go-to as of late, and knock on wood, it's been pretty solid. So
have you seen everyone complaining that, supposedly Ubiquity like broke everything over the last few days?
There was something like the logins broke or something like that. We were busy doing other things. We were doing some phone deployments, so I wasn't really into our Ubiquity hardware as much, but I did hear something about that. It did not affect us because I didn't need to get in, but
Well, it sounds like from what I've gathered, people are upset because Ubiquity disabled the ability for you to use a cloud key with multi-tenant.
yeah, okay, that's right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm completely baffled as to why anybody thinks that's a good idea.
Right, yeah.
I mean, cloud keys are designed to be in a single site. Like, they're not even designed to be multi-site for the same client, even if there is a VPN. Like, I just wouldn't do that.
Right.
So the fact that some people, it sounds like they're setting up cloud keys, like, in mom's basement or wherever they set things up, and using a cloud key as a Unify server.
That's a terrible idea.
What was that?
I said, that's a terrible idea.
It is. And for obvious reasons. One, Ubiquity just disabled it. I think they might have re-enabled it because of all the pushback, which scares me even more that there was that much pushback that they turned the feature back on. How many people really think this is a good idea? Like, they are not selling these things for you to turn into a Ubiquity server.
No, they're not. But like in our industry, like, here's the thing. We charge a certain rate, right? I would consider us a premium service, and we don't get every job because sometimes we're more expensive than the cheap guys. We got guys charging $30 a user now for unlimited support. Like, who can make money doing that? It's the guys selling.
People can be doing that.
Yeah, it's the guys that are hosting a Unify cloud key in their mom's basement that has no recurring cost, and that's how they're managing all their clients' infrastructures with zero cost. Like, we can't offer that level of service because we put in more than that cost is into our clients. So yeah, I mean, that's in Ubiquity stuff is fine. And one of the things that I think, I was not a huge Ubiquity fan, because honestly, the firewalls are not amazing devices. They're just, they leave some stuff to be desired. However,
they really do.
With everyone working from home now, I feel that the security focus has shifted from the firewall to the endpoints. Because everyone's working from home, for a lot of clients, it doesn't necessarily matter if their firewall is there because nobody's at the office anyways. Like, they're not there. So why are we?
And I guess that depends. Does the client have servers on site at the office still? Then we might need to have some good firewalls and the security there.
That is true. Yes. But for those considerations, yes. But a lot of our small clients have no servers in their offices anymore.
Yeah, and that was literally, I was just going to say, how many of your clients actually have servers these days?
A couple. Like, we actually quoted a server for a client, and like, well, we're going to move to the cloud for this one line of business app. I'm like, okay, good. Because like, this is stupid to put a server in for this one thing.
I remember 11 years ago shifting my clients to the cloud. Like, I was in my region of Northeast Ohio, I was kind of at the forefront of let's go to the cloud. Everyone else around me is like, no, you don't trust the cloud. You need servers. And I'm like, no, they're stupid. You don't need a $10,000 server project. You just need to spend a couple $100 a month. Let's put you in the cloud. Like, make this an expense that's easier to write off and doesn't hurt your balance, right? As bad as this other thing. Because both you can write off. Just one hurts less.
Yeah.
So and then some MSPs, well, capital versus operating expense. Like, no, nobody cares when we're this small. They just see bank balance, low, food, hungry. Ah, ah.
Oh, something happened. Oh, you're
Do you
back
hear
now.
me?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
now. I heard bank balance low, hungry, and then you froze.
Oh, that's I was just saying, like, nobody cares about that type of stuff because most of our clients are small businesses. They don't, the accountant cares and the client still doesn't care. The client's like, yeah, but
Mhm.
I don't care about all that, Mr.
Right.
Accountant. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I get it, man. Like you might have a dozen servers that you manage and everything else is cloud based. I don't know, I'm guessing. How many endpoints between Jamf and Data RMM do you have out there? Ballpark.
That's a good question because we've been migrating things around and we just onboarded a new client. I want to say we're at like almost 300 endpoints
Okay.
between everything. Once everything is said and done.
And what are you charging for? I'm going to call it the all-you-can-eat MSP stuff.
So the answer to that is it depends, and it
Okay.
depends on risk. So here's two examples. We have a client that is very laid back. If the Wi-Fi goes out, that's okay. They'll just deal with it. Or they have a new employee starting. Okay, they may tell us, the day they're there and say, hey, we just need an email. It could be a pop email because they don't want to pay for Office. I mean, that's kind of the business that they run. It's very laid back. They are obviously not as high risk as the law firm we're talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
The law firm, if an attorney can't print or they can't revise a Word document, that's first off, it's costing them money because they can't get the things done. Second off, it may be in violation of like a court order because if they have to present this documentation to the opposing counsel and they can't, that's a huge problem. Or even worse, if the government, the FBI is coming in and says we need access to these things and they can't provide it, that's even worse. So they are a different price point than the other agency that maybe doesn't care as much about stuff, or if the internet goes down, we'll just work from home today, no big deal. They're all using Dropbox or some other file sharing thing that has pretty good reliability, and they don't care about a lot of stuff. So the answer to your question is it depends, and it depends on what security stack they need and all the stuff we need to throw in there. But we tend to be on the higher end of what is charged, but we deliver excellent value. And that's what I think the most important thing is, because we offer these things. And if you don't want them, that's okay. But maybe we're not the right consultancy for you, because if I can't care more than you do, and if you don't care about a lot of this stuff, then why should I? And if it's the most important thing to you, like our clients that have production floors or attorneys or anything like that, that they're absolutely losing money if anything doesn't work, it's worth it for them to pay us. So it's tough to gauge that, but we are probably at the higher end of what people charge these days. I know we are, because I've seen quotes from competitors that are like a third of ours with all in support. I'm like, they're not giving you the endpoint security. They're not giving you the quarterly business reviews. They're not giving you the hosted DNS filtering for all your fleet. They're not giving you the security updates. They're not giving you the owner's cell phone in case you have an issue. They're not giving you hardware refresh cycle or iOS management. They're not giving you the same level of stuff that we are. So yeah, they are cheaper. Okay. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
And you notice I didn't answer your question, because the answer is it depends.
But I still want a number.
So the range is anywhere, like if you had, so we've got some clients that have a lot of computers, like, so they would have 10 employees and like 30 computers, because it's a warehouse floor. There's computers scattered throughout the warehouse. It's 120,000 square feet of stuff, and there's computers all over the place. So we typically charge around, starting at about $30 a computer for us to even have it on the network and manage it. And managing is like Datto and a couple other utilities. for security. I think it's Sentinel-1 and his DNS filter, and a couple of other little things we run there in the background to make sure that the network is being optimized. And then the users typically are between about $50 to $150 a user a month, depending upon what services they want. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Okay. And what kind of SLA they want.
So it sounds like you break things down for people to make it a little easier for everybody. So, I know some people are like, oh, it's, $100 a user. But what if they have 12 servers?
Right.
What if they need Datto BDRs? What if they need this? What if they need that? Well, it's $100 a user. Like, but why? Like, did you just pull a number out of your ass? Or do you actually know what your costs are and what your margin's going to be? And if this company is going to be, less profitable than this other company because you're just charging the same arbitrary rate to everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, they also don't factor in labor. Like, what is it going to cost to support this company? What is your man hours per employee per month?
Someone told me yesterday that they insist that you should be including 75 minutes per user per month.
That seems a bit high. To me.
I agree. And this is a person that is heavily automated. So it sounds like, if I'm guessing, it sounds like what's happening is they're doing a lot of like meetings and hand holding and training and other stuff because the automation is doing so much that they're sitting down with the clients to actually have like planning sessions instead of being so reactive. They're sitting down and saying, hey, so we just sold you a bunch of Dell workstations with 18 core CPUs in them. So now you're able to do your rendering in 3ds Max instead of it taking 3 days. You said it takes you like 3 to 5 hours. So what's next on your horizon? What do you see yourselves changing in the next 1 to 3 years? Like, and it sounds like they're having like a lot of these really great sessions to work together as a team, and that's going to kind of like get you in there better, right? Because now you're at the ground floor, you're helping them make decisions, and it's almost like they need you because now they don't just see you as the guy that's doing the computers, they see you as part of the brain trust,
That's still a lot of time. Was it 75 minutes per employee?
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
Because I was just doing the math on one of my clients. I'm like, that would be an entire week we sat there every month.
Well, they're saying that that's what you should be estimating as part of your costs. As like worst case scenario, shit hits the fan, servers die, mistakes were made, that type of stuff. You should be estimating 75 minutes per employee because over the course of, if you're doing 36-month contracts, over the course of the 36 months, you might find that if they had a catastrophe or two, that it averages out that you did that. And they also include projects too.
Okay.
So they are 100% like all you can eat. Now they'll probably say, like, depending on the size of the company, yeah, we'll install your servers for you and we won't charge you any extra, but we're only going to give you like 12 hours of project stuff a month. So, I mean, if it takes me 3 months to do it, you can't bitch because I'm not charging you extra. If you want it done faster, here's my rate.
Well, that's a great thing about being a managed service provider is that managed can mean anything you want it to mean. And if that works for them, okay, that's good. That seems like something I wouldn't do, but that's why, that's why we have discussions.
It seems kind of convoluted in a way, to be honest, but I mean, it works for them.
Sure.
So,
and we don't know what they're charging either. I mean, they could be charging $250 a user, $300 a user. So
yeah, you're in the range.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Like you can afford to do those things. We are not at a point where we can charge $300 a user. In fact, our clients, if they saw this, would probably like, no, 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 no. But that's, if you can charge those rates, you can do those things. It's like, if you want to buy a BMW, you're going to get a great car. Like, okay, great.
You're also going to spend $1,200 on an oil change.
Yes.
Or whatever stupid price. I don't even know. Like, I would loan a BMW as long as they threw in all of the regular maintenance over the 3 years.
I think they do now for leases. Yeah. Yep. It's all in.
Yeah. Because let me tell you, man.
All you can drive, right?
No, I don't even drive that much. I think I could probably pull off 10 to 12,000 miles a year. Maybe if I tried hard.
Oh God, no. In 2020, I drove 20,000 miles. And that's with
Ryan. I'm not sure if you knew this, but you were supposed to be locked in your bedroom in 2020.
So here's the thing. We have clients that were in food distribution that were considered essential, and we had to service them. So yes, we had to do stuff. And on top of that, I've got kids and activities and all that stuff. So we were, we'd take my car if we were driving somewhere because it's cheap to drive. So we would do that on the weekends. But yeah, it was, and that was an off year. Usually I'm about 30 to 35,000 miles.
No, thank you.
Lots of audiobooks.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm able to do most of my stuff remote. Yeah. So let's get back into Apple device management, because if you haven't noticed by now, squirrel. So talk to me about what Apple device management actually looks like for your team. How many people do you have working with you?
There are 2.5 of us. There's a full-time tech. There's me, and I'm the overflow tech, and like level 2, level 3 if he needs help. And then there's our office manager / marketing person / cattle prod wielder that gets us moving forward.
So what does Apple device management actually look like? I suspect you guys are logging into Jamf every day, clicking some buttons, moving some things.
Kind of. So what we've done, I fully subscribe to the work smarter, not harder mantra. Traditionally, Apple device management, like let's say the Office applications, right? Because everyone uses Office. So what you would traditionally do is you would go to Microsoft's site and you would download every one of the Office applications when the day they came out with new ones. You would make a new installer in Jamf Pro. You would drag the application into Jamf Pro. You'd wait for it to upload, and you click, upgrade, and then it would look for the machines that you had that ran older versions, and then you would force that package to download and install on the computers. But we started off doing that. And I was like, man, that's a big pain in the butt. I don't like doing that anymore. That's labor, right? Labor sucks. I don't want to have humans do this stuff. So we've been experimenting with a plugin for Jamf Pro called Installator. And what it does is it forces the computers, if they meet a certain requirement of the version of the application is a version old, it runs this script based on certain criteria. So one of the things we do is we have them, every time they change Wi-Fi networks, it might run the script, or it might run it every week or two, depending upon the client and depending upon their needs. So what we do is we have it traditionally run when they change networks, because it's usually like, okay, I get to work. Okay, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, open my computer. Oh, there's an update. Okay, I'll do it. Or when they get home at night, they open their computer, or they're working on Saturday. Okay, I got time to do this. They can do it then. And what it will do is it'll run a script, and it will go to Microsoft's site based on the criteria that they have. They are not on the most recent version. It'll download the application from Microsoft's site, and then it'll be fully automated, and we never have to touch it. So what we have a patch a patch management aspect. I'm trying to think here. A patch management rule in Jamf Pro, where if Office is not the newest version, and somebody has to manually update, and that's somebody on Jamf's side that does that. So that's where we get that definition from. Then it does all these automated things. So it may say, hey, my IT&D needs you to log out because we have a bunch of apps to install. Or it could be something as simple as, hey, we're updating your apps in the background. We'll let you know when we're done.
Okay.
So We try to be as least intrusive as possible because obviously clients are busy, especially lawyers are very busy. They don't have time to do this stuff. They need to bill and work on their clients. So we've done a lot of automating of the stuff behind the scenes. And honestly, like a lot of the apps tend to update themselves, and it's mainly trying to get them to stop doing that, like Zoom and Slack and some of the other apps that they use are apps that will update themselves and kind of get out of control from us. So we try to disable that and handle it all ourselves. But one of the things we're seeing is that things, knock on wood, things don't tend to break as often as they used to with software management. We all remember the days you'd like push an Apple update or there was like an Intuit update for QuickBooks on the Mac that literally erased your desktop and anything on there. So like any documents you had on there, and they weren't just gone, they were super gone. Like they were deleted with terminal and just trashed, and you could not get your data back. Microsoft just had the same things. They lost pictures, everybody's picture folder in one of the Windows 10 service releases. So those things have kind of gone away for the most part. And we don't have as many reservations about running cutting, release software as we used to.
Got it. So, like, what really do you need to manage on an Apple device? I mean, everyone says they just work, right? So, you hand somebody their Mac, you install Jamf, you make sure they've got whatever else you need to install on there, and then you're done, right? Like,
so the answer to that question is, the same things you have to manage on Windows devices. You have to manage security. You have to manage. We use
Macs
Jamf.
Can't get viruses, Ryan.
But here's the thing: Mac users can do dumb things the same way Windows users can do dumb things. So they can click on that phishing email. They can click on the executable they're trying to run that will launch this website. You can install malicious profiles on Macs that will redirect DNS settings and mine Bitcoin in Chrome or whatever the heck those ones are doing. So you can do a lot of these bad things. And honestly, the main attack vector we're seeing now is cloud services. They want to log in. They want to phish your Office 365 account.
They sure do.
And some of the stuff we put in place doesn't allow that to happen. Multi-factor authentication is required on all Office 365 tenants. We utilize some third-party DNS servers. So if you're bound and determined to click on that phishing link, like you should not be able to go there based on the criteria that we've set in the DNS filter. So a lot of these things that we're doing is to protect other things from happening. It's not just the computer itself.
So just like us Windows people, you've got the Office 365, the 19 different spam filters and security filters that get plugged into that. Mm-hmm. There might be an AV software that you're putting on the Mac because you never know. Mm-hmm. DNS filtering, more filtering, some more filtering, and then when you thought you were done, some more filtering. Mm-hmm. So it all really is like cloud-based stuff that you're doing for the Mac people, just like the Windows people.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about commodities before. We utilize different platforms for the Apple side. We've tried the one dashboard to rule them all, and it's just not done it for us. Like we were all in on Sentinel-1, and then Sentinel-1 said it's going to take us 6 months to get our M1 Apple Silicon compatible agent done. I'm like,
but they
I can't wait 6 months. Like I needed, what were you guys doing? And to be fair, Apple moves goalposts on developers faster than any other company. So we ended up going with Jamf Protect, which is another Jamf product. And we're pleasantly surprised because it's a whole framework of security. It's not just like, hey, you've got this bad thing on your computer, because that's easy. It's doing things like, okay, this government document says that, or this FBI document recommends, 15-minute screensaver timeouts. You have 20 minutes. You need to adjust this accordingly. This isn't managed. You really should manage this. You have the ability for someone to do this. Okay, they shouldn't be able to do that on their computer based on this recommendation. So it's really like a framework of, it's basically like a bunch of checkboxes with decisions you have to make and how secure you want to make your clients. Some of that security does complicate things. Like people aren't going to be super happy about their screensaver kicking on after 5 minutes or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, like that may be a thing that you need to do. If they're in a high traffic environment, they may need to, to log in after the screensaver kicks in with their Azure AD credentials on their Mac, because that's a thing that we need to push these days.
Now, hold on a second, Ryan. Microsoft makes Azure AD. You can't do
so
Azure
there's
AD on a Mac.
You can use Azure AD on a Mac, and there's actually a bunch of different ways to do it. Your MDM provider should allow for that. Based on God, I can't think of the name of it. Not single sign-on, but Federation, Apple Federation for Apple IDs. So the myitindy.com is a federated Apple ID. So what that does, it ties. You ever see the sign-in with Apple stuff? So my Apple ID for myitindy.com is tied to Office 365. So whenever I click login with Apple, it takes me to Microsoft, and then I log in with my Office 365 credentials. And that authenticates me back to the Apple service. It's the same thing with computers. You can use Azure AD credentials on a Mac. Now, you do have to use third-party utilities to make it happen right now, but it will work, and it works pretty well.
That sounds sexy.
It kind of does. It's kind of like, okay, it's the same password for stuff. And if you change it, it's the same one everywhere. And people are like, oh, my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, yes.
So Azure AD for Mac. Does it make it easier or more difficult for you to manage stuff on the endpoint?
So Apple makes it difficult for us to manage stuff on the endpoint. So the biggest pain in the butt that we have is that Apple views a computer as that person's device. So your Mac Mini is your device. It does not matter that me, as the business owner, purchase that device and want to manage it 100%. My thoughts and prayers don't matter. So here's where we're at. Apple is very big on privacy, and they have made it less than ideal for, if you called me, Steve, and you said, Ryan, I can't get this Word document to work, and I've never remoted into your computer before. We've got to check some check boxes before I can, before I can get in. And it's a large pain in the butt because it doesn't always work. So if you utilize a tool like Splashtop or anything along that road for this, you have to pre-approve those permissions before the user gets the computer. You used to be able to do that with an MDM and with profiles, but now you can't. They've stopped that. So now our technicians, whenever they onboard a person, they establish a remote session to that computer to pre-approve all those things. Otherwise, what you have to do is you have to walk the user through it, and it's not an ideal situation. And I get why they do it. It's screen recording. They don't want a user to not know their screen's being recorded, but at the same time, the hoops they have to jump through on a managed device, enrolled in an MDM, enrolled in Apple Business Manager, and verified to be a business person, should have access to do those things. So there's this privacy battle that's going on, and Apple doesn't listen to us in any way, shape, or form. They don't have to. They're a $2 trillion company. They don't have to listen to anybody. But at the same time, like, they want their stuff to be used in businesses and to be utilized in this fashion. But they need to have a compromise on the management of it. And if you know anybody there that would like to have a conversation with this, I'd love to talk to them. But frankly, I don't. My opinion, and 50 cents will maybe get me a can of pop. It would be nice if they stopped moving goalposts.
Vending machines.
Well, the stupid thing is so a lot of higher education and big corporations, if they have Apple devices, they don't make the users admin users. Mm-hmm. Which, that's a whole other discussion. We've done admin users forever for all of our users on the Mac side, and knock on wood, have had very zero issues in 16 years. However, I can see where that would not want to be the case, where you have a highly managed environment and you don't want them to be admin users. Well, with Big Sur, It was actually an issue because they weren't allowing standard users to approve the capability for someone to remote in. So you could not remote in. And I know a bunch of my colleagues had to go to bat, and like large universities that said, we will never purchase another Apple device ever again if this is not fixed, because I can't support my users. Why would I buy your stuff? Like this,
Yeah.
you're being too private. And Apple, in one of the beta releases, late beta for Big Sur, changed policies and now allowed standard users to approve screen recording.
Well, one thing that I got really frustrated with, I might manage half a dozen Macs, so I think you and I are probably on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Sure.
So I was able to install Adigy, and then the great thing with Adigy is that if you are managing Adigy from a Mac, you can just hit the remote control button, and it opens up the Apple Remote Desktop feature, and that's like super easy. With when I sent a Screen Connect, or whatever they call it now, ConnectWise Control, when I sent an agent for that over, oh my gosh, it was pulling teeth, and then it still never worked.
Yeah.
It was like, we need you to enable screen recording for this. Okay, I did. Well, we still need you to do it. But I did. Yeah, but if you could go ahead and do that for me. Like, no, I did. So I ended up like canceling Screen Connect and going somewhere else, because I was like, this is stupid. Like, I ended up getting rid of Screen Connect and just having Adigy, just because why? Why am I paying for this if it doesn't work? And I've got my several dozen Windows endpoints that I'm still managing these days, and everything works fine in Synchro with it. Like they're it's all HTML5 based for them. It could be a little bit better. Yesterday I was having some troubles supporting a client through it, and I was like, man, you should have kept you should have kept Screen Connect, Steve. And then I looked. It was like Jekyll and Hyde over. Shut up! You don't know me. Like,
Yeah.
like, so I mean, like, I literally, I would say once every 6 months, I yell at myself about getting rid of something, right?
No, I know, right? We're all in that, and every year we reevaluate all of our tools and say, is this the best way I'm doing this? Is this the best tool for this job? And if it's not, then we figure out if it's worth switching, and then we usually say no because it's a pain in the butt.
Right. So, what other fancy tools are you using for Macs with your clients?
That's okay. So we use everything with Jamf Pro for the management of it. We push all of our software, we push printers, we push configuration, security profiles. That's what we use for that. We pretty much live in a Splashtop business. That's what we use for our remote access tool. And because we're Datto partners, we got SOS Splashtop for a year for free. So we use a combination of those two tools. We have some clients that we cannot automatically remote into their computers. They don't allow that. So we utilize SOS Splashtop in those instances. We also resell Splashtop to clients that have desktops at their computers. And what we can do is enable them to have the Splashtop business app on their home computer and remote in to their business computer. And they can do all their work there. They can even print back to the printer sitting at their home office if they need to.
So what license do you need for that?
Splashtop Business is the tier that it's called. It's like the purple one, if they're doing colors still. And it works really well. It's not horribly expensive. I think it was like $800 for like 250 endpoints or something like that.
Okay, that's not bad. I've got a guy, I think he said he's still using LogMe and Central, and he's got like 1,500. And when he looked, like, and he might be spending, I don't know, however many hundred a year or whatever. But when he looked at Splashtop, it was going to be like thousands.
It depends, because they've got a lot of different tiers.
I think he was just looking at it as, oh, it's $99 a computer. So I need to sell everyone this thing for $99 a computer.
Yeah, let's see here. If he had, yeah, it can get pricey. I mean, if you're talking thousands of computers, it can get for remote support. For Yeah, I don't know. They've got
But
so many
with
licenses. I'd have to dig through. They got so many different licenses there. It's ridiculous.
but okay, so with Splashtop Business, you're paying for the number of endpoints managed, not the number of end users using it.
Correct.
Because I know
So
with Control, it's a combination of both. It's like for a while it was like, all right, you can have one concurrent user and a maximum of X number of desktops. And I'm like, why are you limiting both? Like one or the other.
because
Pick
it's
one.
ConnectWise, man. They got to squeeze the money.
Well, let me tell you, man,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to do something because they've squeezed a little too much, and I think their partners are all pissed off because they keep squeezing and not updating any security issues.
Yeah. Yeah. We do Splash Top. It says the tab says for remote for managed service providers. It's remote support plus is the tier, and we did 250 computers at $829 a year.
Okay.
So that wasn't
I
too
will,
bad, and that's a price. What we did was we resold it to people who needed to get into their computers, so it ended up being a wash. I mean, it was free, or we made money on it.
So I see they've got plus and premium, and basically what I'm hearing is, if they've got 9,000 computers, $825 a month, or 9,900 annually, and that will cover all those computers, and you can give unattended access to all 9,000 end users if you wanted to. And you just unfortunately probably have to manage a whole bunch of security
Yeah, there's
policies
that.
when it comes to like, all right, this person's allowed to access this computer. Like, but you can do it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And they don't care how many concurrently are connected right now.
Nope.
Okay. Excellent.
And it's been pretty slick. Like we had a situation where an office, the office manager had to print checks and mail them out, but they were using QuickBooks Desktop, multi-user. So she was she needed to stay home and work from home, but everyone else is at the office. So what we did was we gave her a laser printer and a stack of checks, sent her home, and she's using her desktop at home. Actually, she's using a company provided computer at home too. And she's remoting in, and then you can add the printer sitting next to you in Splashtop, so you can be working at your office and print back to your home office. And she was printing checks and mailing them out, and because it was a lot of checks. It was like hundreds of checks a month because they were paying people and paying vendors and stuff, and they did it all with checks because that's how they roll. And it worked perfectly. Like she can print off all these things, and she's never been back to the office. They just have the checks actually mailed to her, or she goes in once a month to grab another ream of checks or whatever, and just prints everything off at home.
Oh, my thing got delivered.
I know I got something I delivered here too. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I can't even keep track of this stuff.
1 second.
Sure.
All right, so I just asked my wife to bring it to me.
Ooh.
I wanna open this on the air, because I think it's cool. So I'll switch over to you for a second. What I'm gonna do, so that way she can come in here, and she doesn't want to be on camera and all that. So I'll switch over to you. Do me a favor. Tell me what kind of like bag you use.
Oh my God.
Tell me what kind of bag you use for like commuting back and forth with clients and whatnot for your computer and whatever else.
Okay. So I'm what they call a bag whore. I love bags. I've got
That's
probably
awesome.
10 sitting over there, depending upon how and what I need to do. So I actually like this. It's by a company called Maxpedition, and it's a tougher bag. It's designed to carry, if you've got, some clothing as well, you can carry that. It is also a concealed carry bag in case you go that route, but
That is cool, man.
That is cool. It's a backpack, and it looks nice. It's not like a janky looking, paracord backpack or anything like that, but it folds completely open. You can put a ton of stuff in there. So if I'm doing a project that requires me to take a lot of things that I'm going to be carrying, I use a backpack because I've, shoulders, backs, the whole deal. Like, I'm not as young as I used to be. Things hurt. Let's not be standing around with something hanging off one shoulder and pulling you down. My chiropractor would probably kill me. But on a day-to-day thing, I've got a bag that's a canvas and leather bag from Waterfield, which is sfbags.com.
That's what my next bag will be.
I love their stuff. So I've actually got the bag for my 15/16 inch, but I put my 13 inch in there. And It's amazing. It looks so nice. I mean, honestly, like with the MacBook Air, you can't even tell there's a laptop in it. I mean, there's just nothing in there. And I've got a little bag of parts that, obviously we need adapters and all that crap. So I got the little bag of parts and I just tossed in there. I could toss my iPad Pro in there. And again, it doesn't weigh that much. But if I'm going to be like, hey, I need to bring some tools or I need to bring this thing on site, I don't use that bag because it's not good for me to have it hanging off the side like that. I try to carry less. I mean, I don't carry keys. I try not to carry many credit cards or anything like that. I carry my phone and that's about it. I'm trying to carry less stuff. I've also got another SF bag, Waterfield bag that's very thin. So if I'm just carrying like my laptop and, with the M1 laptop, if you're just going to the coffee shop for a couple hours or to the co-working space for a couple hours, I don't need the power adapter because the thing's got like 12, 14 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
So I'll leave all that stuff at home and I'll just carry the laptop, and it literally looks like a man purse, but it's, I can just slip it in there and it's super easy to carry around, and I don't have to, lug a huge stupid bag with me because I hate carrying stuff around.
So let me tell you, my next bag is going to be the Waterfield Tech Folio 16 inch. And I'm actually going to put it here on the screen. Okay, this is the bag that will be my next bag. And it's just like you said, I want to carry less, not more. Mm-hmm. So the reason I want this bag is because like it opens up completely like this. It'll hold just my Mac and the few essentials that I want to take with me, and that's it.
See, now I may have to buy that one too. Like I said, I've got...
And I want to get the wax canvas. I want to get the Supreme suspension strap. And I think I would have them throw in the mouse pad just because I'm already spending over $200. What's another $30, right? I don't even need a mouse pad, Ryan. I use the Magic Trackpad 2 or whatever they call the thing.
Yeah, but, I sent you a link to the one I've got. The Stayed Attaché messenger bag.
Let's see here. I looked at this one, and I just decided this is way too big.
It is. It can hold a lot of stuff.
It looks like it can. It absolutely does. So let me show you what I got. And I'm actually going to stop screen sharing, and let me show you what I got. What I got is a Nomadic. Here it is.
Okay.
Nomadic. And I'm opening this up right now. First time. I forgot to say, bring me my keys, and I don't have my tool on me. So I don't get to do this like really cool, like those unboxing video guys, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have the sexy knife with me, right? So you open it up, and this is nice. Life on the Move.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's a backpack, right?
This one might be.
I can't remember.
I don't remember anymore. And then it says, "Go make your move down here." And then I'll pull this guy out.
Okay, they got a bunch of stuff now. Yeah.
So like even this bag is fancy. Look at this.
Nice.
It's one of those reusable like zipper bags.
Mm-hmm.
They put a bag in a bag, Brian. That's how you know you've made it to the big time.
Yeah.
When they put your bags inside of bags. So this one is the Nomadic Messenger bag.
Okay.
It is a 15 liter. I don't know
That's
how many
a big
gallons
bag.
that is.
That's a big
15
bag.
liters. That's like 7.5 bottles of Coke, right? So you open it up. It does open up all the way here, and it has this divider thing, and then it has another divider thing, and then it has another divider thing,
Yeah.
and it's got like all this space and stuff. I don't even know what the heck this thing is, but it feels important. Oh, it might just be to fill out this
Yeah.
thing inside here. It feels like it has something inside it, though. It does. Inside it is a little pouch. So,
Put your glasses.
and you know
in
what? I bet that is a sunglasses case.
there. Yeah.
Because they don't have an actual, like, hard area for sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet you that pouch and box is where you would put your sunglasses. So this thing here is some kind of organizer
Well
thing.
organized. Yeah. Okay.
And then there's the strap.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this nonsense. And I'm still just in one of the pouches. So this thing is an additional organizer thing. And this thing is actually the reason I got this bag. So it opens up and you see it like unfolds here.
Sure.
And what I'm able to do with this is these unfold, and then it all just kind of velcros together, and it makes like a little box, we'll call it.
Huh.
And then once I get all of these put together, it'll have 3 divided compartments, and I'll be able to put my DSLR camera, a lens, and some batteries, and whatever else that's big that I want to put in that thing. And all of that fits into this giant compartment with a zipper. And then over here, on this zipper, is where the IT magic happens. And here's where your mind's going to be blown.
Mm-hmm.
It has, open this up, big 16-inch laptop, and a tablet thing here. And the tablet thing is supposed to be able to hold my iPad Pro. So it
Nice.
should be able to hold a 13-inch.
Okay.
So let's test that real quick. iPad Pro. Helps if I go inside the right one. Should be so much easier with a table, right? So
Yeah.
the iPad Pro fits inside that smaller pouch perfectly. And then I still have a big pouch to put my MacBook Pro into.
Perfect.
So that is why I got this bag, because now on, I talk about it enough, everyone knows. Now when I go into church on Sundays to volunteer, I can take my MacBook, my iPad Pro, there was another spot I can put my iPad mini, my AirPods, all the charging cables, my DSLR camera. I can take all this gear into the church and have it all in one comfortable bag, not all just thrown in there.
Yep.
And that's the most exciting part for me.
That is very
When
cool.
we're
Yes.
Throwing it in there. But my next bag will be that Tech Folio 16-inch, because honestly, that is all I need 4 or 5 days of the week. I need this big bag literally once or twice a week, and I don't want to carry that big thing around the rest of the time.
No, that's
And I'm
yeah.
sick
I
of buying
totally agree.
these. And I'm sick of buying these cheap, janky. Not that they suck or anything, but they just don't serve the purpose I need them to. Like even the nicer Swiss gear bags, like they're nice, but I think it's time to get a big boy bag. And have something nice to carry around and look like a professional instead of some kid that just got out of college.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Whenever I go to a conference, like, here's your bag. Like, I don't want a bag. Please don't give me a backpack.
Unless
like
it's a water field.
Exactly. I mean, even like the Ogio ones, I mean, they're fine. They do the job, but everybody in our industry, like, look, I don't want to look like a dude, look like an IT guy with an Ogio bag and everything, all the same stuff everyone else has. Like, have some style to it,
Absolutely. Anything else that you would like to share with the people, the masses? There's literally ones of them watching.
Ones. That's awesome.
Ones. You can't even say there's hundreds or dozens. There's ones of them.
Oh man, honestly, like, one of the things that after having COVID and getting over it and evaluating things health wise, it's going to be really hard to accomplish your business goals if you're not taking care of yourself. Because your business goals, as you increase them, it puts more stress on you. And you can't argue that. Like, if you have more things to do, it's going to require you to do more. So if your body is not in the shape that you want it to be in, then you need to investigate making the changes that you want to have. Even if you are working from home or you are in a confined environment, there are things you can do. You can change diet, you can start exercising, you can go on walks. There are things you can do to make yourself healthier so that you can perform better at your job. And that was something I really struggled with because I was not doing that last year. We were kind of in keep our heads above water and see what happens with our client base sort of mode. I did let myself go to the point that I needed to make a change in November. I started adjusting my diet and trying to get more exercise. The main thing I did was a diet because that was something I could do without changing my schedule because we were busy. It just required a little bit more planning, maybe bring lunch with or, stopping eating out. That's a huge thing. But bringing lunch with or making sure that you're eating a healthier breakfast, less coffee is better for you. And then I started feeling better and started getting, my health back under control and getting back down to the weight I wanted to be at. But it also gave me more energy and more clarity of thought because I wasn't doing the bad habits that were, dragging me down, eating crap food, perhaps having, too many beers every week or, not getting enough sleep or, doing all those things. And now having gone through COVID and being this and doing these things, it was a changing experience for me because as I was a little bit healthier, I was able to get back on my feet, I think a little bit better. And now that I'm through it, I, continue with eating the things that I should be eating and not having the alcohol was a big thing, but also making sure I get enough sleep. And that has helped me focus and to get things done better and to do my job better. And what my job is to run this company. So we have definitely turned a corner on my ability to get things done, which being the boss is a huge part of what our company does. Like, don't underestimate things that you can control and change that can possibly put you in a better spot to do what you want to do better and ultimately theoretically make you live longer.
Awesome, man. And I know there's, going to be the people watching this going, yeah, I would work out, but I'm allergic. It's weird. I start sweating. It becomes harder to breathe. I just have like these weird reactions. But he's right. I'm one of those people, and I started doing Noom, Black Friday, and I feel like 15 pounds was a huge change. Yeah, I still have a huge change to go. Like,
but it's you're taking steps forward. Like, that's all anybody can ask is that we keep moving forward. Yeah,
And-
small change.
And the one thing that I think is important for people that maybe they are a bigger guy like me, and you probably feel, or at least I would feel like, oh well, it's impossible to lose weight because that means I can never have Oreos again or whatever, right? And Noom says, dude, you can have Oreos, just don't eat a whole freaking roll of Oreos, like. There's a reason it has a serving size on the back.
Yeah.
So, now that I'm looking at this and going, oh, so I'm allowed to eat rice. I'm allowed to have noodles and bread and all. Like, I don't have to cut out all this stuff and go on like weird fad diets because those aren't sustainable.
No.
So I'm pumped about that. But
awesome. Congratulations. That's a huge shift.
Thank you. So, seriously, Ryan, I almost feel bad because I feel like we could have, we could have dived way deeper into Apple device management, but we had such a great conversation. So
yeah, we did. That was a lot of fun.
Hopefully everybody else enjoyed it. Would love to have you back again. Maybe you can like show some of us that have never used Jamf what Jamf looks like and how to use it, and maybe set it up as an MSP that would like to better support their clients who are inevitably getting Macs because that's what people want, man. They're sexy, right? Everyone wants the sexy thing.
It's the battery life, man. That's the thing that's good. They're fast and they have like the 12 or 14-hour battery life. That's a huge thing.
Man, I never got more than 4 hours on this MacBook Pro.
Oh God, no! My even my brand new one, the one from 2019, I 3 maybe 4 hours, and then the 100-watt battery charger is like this big in your bag, and this thing uses the same charger my iPad uses, the 30-watt charger.
Insane. So I don't remember if I said so, but Google Drive for G Suite using the Backup and Sync app. I'm told works when you have the latest Big Sur update installed on your Mac.
Okay.
So I would say give that a try if you have any G Suite clients. Like, say, hey, can I test this out on my computer real quick or whatever, so that way you can verify it's actually working. That way you can help your clients.
So I just got an email. I actually just got forwarded an email about that from a client, and it looks like in April it's going to have full support.
So I can get a new Mac soon.
You absolutely.
I'm returning this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to return it.
I sent you the Google Doc. Someone literally just sent it to me.
That's awesome. Because Drive file stream release notes upcoming April 2021. Version 47.0 will support Apple M1 devices and will have additional bug fixes. I think this might be the first time Google has ever said, hey, here's what's on the roadmap, because they probably don't want to lose a big chunk of their customers.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. They probably have a boatload of people that are on Apple devices.
Oh, I'm sure, including their own employees. Like, how? It's not like you didn't know this was coming. Apple gave you 8 months of warning.
They did. They really did.
And gave you the hardware to make it.
They also did. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, for $500,
it was just a glorified iPad running Big Sur, but
yeah, whatever. It was an iPad shoved in a Mac Mini. And for $500, you got a device that you could use, and you got all the developer tools. Like,
that's all they charged for that thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a developer account?
I do. It is. It's $100 a year.
I know.
Yeah, it's worth it for the beta stuff that you can test and break and.
You don't actually develop anything though, right?
No, I can't. The other thing, if you're going to be if you're going to be managing a lot of Macs, get a developer account, because if you ever need to create a profile or a package to install something, you can sign it with your developer certificate, and then it won't throw red flags at the Mac, because that is becoming a thing that Apple's doing more and more as well.
Good to know. And then with the developer account, did you buy that $500 iPad and a Mac?
I thought about it, but no. I had just bought my 16-inch, and that thing was a monster. It was like 8-core i9, 32 gig of RAM, 1 terabyte drive, the upgraded video card. So that was like a $3,300 computer that my main tech is now using as his, because he has a bunch of virtual machines and stuff that he uses for testing software. So he needed it more than I did. That's the other downside to the M1 is you cannot do any, there's not been any released virtualization tools. So if you have to run VMware Fusion or Parallels and run Windows or any of that stuff, it flat out will not work. Do not try it. It will not work. It's a architecture incompatibility. So keep that in mind.
That is very good to know.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely. I'll go sign up and we'll get it a couple months down the road here.
Yeah. We'll do maybe in a couple months. I'll show you my new Waterfield bag.
There you go.
And
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I know. I could.
You can teach me how to wax the canvas.
Yes, that is true.
That's important, apparently.
Yeah, I'll put that on my to-do list.
That's fair. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for attending, guys. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions in the future, and I'll be sure to let Ryan know on the next one that he does.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone.
Take care, guys.